You are now entering the Back in Time podcast.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
You're killing me, Smalls.
I'll be back.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Bueller.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Here are your hosts, Kyle and JD.
Welcome back to the Back in Time podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Autry, joined as always by my co-host, JD. JD, how you doing?
I'm doing better than you sound. Did you have your Cliff Bar for dinner tonight? You sound kind of down in the dumps.
You can tell. Okay. Yeah, a little down on the dumps, some stuff going on. But yeah, man, I'm excited to talk that thing you do, though. I can tell you that.
Well, as you should be, because this is a movie that I think was on our original list of need to cover movies.
Oh, for sure. It's actually pretty high on the list, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, this was kind of one that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and we finally got around to it, and here we are. Yeah, but let's not waste any more time. We do have a special guest on the line here with us. We have the Palindrome Jedi, Anna. Anna, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Yeah, I know this is a big one for you too, though, right?
It sure is. Top 10 favorite movies ever.
Top 10 favorite. What about the song? Where's that rank?
Oh, it's up there too. It's a very good song.
Probably like right below Early November song or something.
Yeah, I mean, what isn't below early November? So
That's true. That is very
Late
true.
September.
Little Green Day, When September Ends. Who knows what's on that list that you have? But yeah, I'm excited that we get a chance to finally jump into this. And I did want to give a little kind of backstory into that thing you do. So it's a 1996 American comedy film. It is written and directed by Tom Hanks. It's his directorial debut. And it tells the story of the rise and fall of a fictional 1960s one-hit wonder pop band. And it stars Tom Everett Scott, Liv Tyler, Jonathan Skeech. I don't know, that last name always throws me. Steve Zahn, Ethan Embry, and a very young in the business, Charlize Theron. So, man, it's got a fantastic hit song that we talked about in our previous episodes. It's in the archive, top 5 songs of 1996. Yeah, I'm excited. JD, now we talked a little bit about this on the teaser trailer. The movie really didn't do all that great. If you guys want to hear us kind of break it down a little bit more, I was pretty fired up about it, but it's a $26 million budget movie, and it only grossed 34 at the box office. And it is a bit of a cult classic. And then I should mention, we are breaking down the original theatrical cut today, not the extended cut. I still have not watched the extended cut. Have either of you guys watched the extra 40 minutes?
I've seen some clips here and there of Howie Long's part. We definitely watched that the other night, but
Okay.
yeah, I haven't seen it either. I would like to just buy the Blu-ray or DVD of it, whatever it's on, and watch it.
That's my thought. Is if I'm gonna watch it, like I'm just gonna own it. I'm not gonna rent it from YouTube or Amazon Prime. And I'm actually shocked that it's an extra 40 minutes. That seems really long.
it does. And
How
Sorry,
long?
go ahead.
Good one. It's a lot of deleted scenes, and the ones that we watched, it makes sense why they deleted them. They just were either boring or didn't make sense with the story. So
Did you read up on some of those scenes, Kyle, especially with Howie Long and what that means for Mr. White?
Wait. Yeah, I love that he's in this movie. No, I mean fill us in. I feel like you've got the better backstory.
So it's suggested that Tom Hanks's Mr. White is a homosexual character, and
Okay.
that Howie Long plays his boyfriend in these deleted scenes, which essentially cement the fact that he is of that, which is totally awesome.
Okay.
And I think takes a I'm of the mindset that if when it comes to relationships in movies, if that plays a part into the character's development, then it's totally worth exploring. We get very little exploration into Ethan Embry's sexual proclivities. Like, it
Okay.
doesn't matter. But like Tom Hanks built this rich backstory and a robust history into Mr. White. That this is the last time I'm going to do that. I promise.
Okay.
Not.
Good. Thank God.
Probably
Continue.
not the last time.
I'm I'm still reeling from our Bud interview, so I think that's why I'm being a little bit more mean at the beginning. He kind of brings that out in us.
Well, he laid it in, but so for
He
audience,
laid
for
it in
those of you
thick.
that joined us in Bud Brutzman's interview about Expedition Back to the Future on YouTube, you can catch it on. He licks onto.
Both
He
of
likes
us.
to kick in the stones. He's a
Oh,
good
yeah.
man, and he means I can tell like he's a winner through and through. So I take it with the stride.
Yeah. I feel like he's probably had some issues in Hollywood because he's like that type of personality where we love it because we're Midwest guys that grew up playing sports. We're like, oh yeah, tear into us. We love this.
Know
So,
you're listening, Bud. So love
oh
you.
yeah, sure. No, that was a great interview, and yeah, I highly doubt he's listening. But if he is, cool. We'd love to have you back on at some point, Bud, and I'm sure we will. But let's jump into this because I don't want to get into too much backstory because there's so much to talk about on the actual review here. So let's go ahead and just start. So we're in 1964, and we begin with a montage here of Guy doing some work inside the Patterson's appliances store. And then finally, the store closes for the night. It's dark outside, but of course, Guy hasn't turned off the lights on the sign. And he goes downstairs. He puts on a Del Paxton record, and he starts to just pull off the cover of his drum set, and he begins to just go at it here. But let's talk about Guy. JD, he's played by Tom Everett Scott. This is his first feature film as a young actor. And what do you think about him here as Skitch, or AKA Guy Patterson?
He's a great actor. I think he's kind of like one of those diamond in the rough type actors where he's really good. He's kind of goofy to look at. He's got the Hollywood big head.
Big head. Turtle entourage. All right, go ahead.
There it is. Yes, the entourage reference landed. Nailed it. I like him. I like him in everything else that I've seen him in, from Dead Man on Campus to said movie that I couldn't tell you that he was in. But regardless, I think he's the perfect casting choice for this. And we learned so much about him as a drummer, as a lover, as a character, as a son, and even as a soldier at one point. So just interesting.
Definitely. And there's a couple really interesting facts I want to kind of throw down about Tom Everett Scott. So the first is Tom Hanks was really kind of opposed to hiring him at the beginning because he kind of resembles a younger Tom Hanks. But it was actually his wife, who does share scenes with him in this movie, that said, I think he's kind of cute, and I think you should give that dude another look. And he went back and watched the tape on him again, and he was like, you're right, he's perfect, and he's hired. So that is how Tom Hanks cast Tom Everett Scott. And then the second thing is he had absolutely zero drumming experience, and he does do a pretty good job throughout the movie of looking like a guy that knows exactly what he's doing behind the kit. So I think they went through like a 6 or like 7 week, basically like a training on how to be a band, and he picked it up all pretty quickly. It's impressive. So how about that, JD? Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Jeez, why you have too
I'm on
much Bud
fire.
on your brain? Calm down, dude.
Jeez. All right, let's keep going. So we meet the rest of the band next. We've got Jimmy, Lenny, the bass player. That's actually his name in the the script. And then we see Chad and Faye. Guy sits down to get a cup of coffee at another table, and the guys are trying to figure out a name for the band. Lenny eventually makes his way over the Guy to see if he would be interested in coming to the show tonight to watch them. And Guy just kind of takes a pass. And then outside outside the store here, Chad and the bass player are jumping the parking meters, and Chad's trying to kind of show him how to do it, but he ends up crashing on the ground, and eventually we find out, I think he breaks his wrist or his hand. I can't remember which one it is, but he gets casted up. That's kind of it. But I do want to talk about the rest of the band. And Jimmy, the lead singer, what are your thoughts on him? Again, he's played by Mr. Skeech, if I'm saying his name correctly. What do you think about him as our leading front man here?
I think, his character is developed throughout the movie, I think a lot, maybe more than the others, because you kind of see how he starts and his relationship with Faye and how he kind of just crumbles all throughout their fame and everything. He just cracks me up though with the band names he's coming up with, like the Herdsman. And I
We'll
just
get into the best one as we get to the garage. We'll also talk about Lenny, or AKA Leonard Hayes. He's the Wonders guitarist, played by Steve Zahn. I'm a massive Steve Zahn fan. I'm waiting for him to make like a big comeback because I think he's like super underrated as an actor. But what do you think about him here as Lenny?
Steve Zahn is great. I love him in this movie and really all movies he does. I feel like he might have just been like that part was written for him because it works so well. He's a goofy guy.
And it's not the only time that we've watched him hold a guitar and sing in a movie. And probably a future episode, because I actually haven't watched this movie in forever, but I do love it. He plays and sings in Saving Silverman with Jack Black. So
Diamonds in the rough.
Diamonds in the rough. And then he actually is an accomplished singer guitarist. So he did know what he was doing with the axe. Unfortunately, our lead singer, Jimmy, was not trained. So he had to learn how to play guitar. And I will say, after finding out that fact and watching him a little closer, it's definitely pretty evident that he's a rookie on the guitar watching him. But another one that was not a rookie at all was Ethan Embry, who plays the bass player. And he's actually listed in the credits as T.B.player. That's his official script name. JD, I'm going to throw this one to you. What do you think about Ethan Embry here as the bass player?
Ethan Embry is actually he's an anomaly as an actor in a lot of ways. He's really good, but at the same time, it's hard to put your finger up there and get a wiggle room for a sense of warmth. From Can't Hardly Wait to Freaky Links. Who is Ethan Embry and where is he today?
Mm-hmm. This is definitely my favorite Ethan Embry movie, but we could make a top 5 Ethan Embrys from me. Empire Records, Vegas Vacation, White Squall, definitely Can't Hardly Wait as Preston Myers. Man, I mean, he's got a great little role in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I love this guy.
As you should. So just shout out to you, Phantom Dark Dave. Can't Hardly Wait in our archives. He loves when we tickle his fancy.
There you go. All right. So that's kind of the rest of the cast. We are going to get into Faye here in a little bit, so I'll save her for now. So Jimmy and Lenny, after Chad goes down, they enter the appliance store, and they're going to ask Guy to sit in tonight for Chad. And Guy wants to know why, and Lenny's like, the asshole broke his arm. And then he does like this hilarious like hiss laugh that I can't quite do, but it's the Steve Zahn laugh. Can't even get there. But Mr. Patterson's keeping a close eye on them, which I think is hilarious in the background. He's like, come on, sell him something. And so he just kind of takes him over and looks at some clock radios. And then Guy wants to know what the tune is. And Lenny assures him it's nothing that he can't handle. And Jimmy's like, plus, if we win, going to be splitting $100. So, Anna, what do you think about Guy joining the band here?
He gets real excited at that invitation. I mean, it's great. He kind of reminds you of like the Beatles, when Ringo came in.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this movie is full of Beatles references, so
definitely an inspiration, that's for sure. And then we're at the garage next for practice, and we get a much slower version of That Thing You Do. And when they finish playing, Jimmy's like, that was perfect, Guy. And then the bass player comments, he's like, that took Chad a week to learn that one. He knocked it out in one take. And then Guy makes an offhand comment, and then quickly like actually plays the opening beat to That Thing You Do subtly in the background, and then Faye's like, "That's it, Guy Patterson, the wonders." And then Jimmy spells it out on the notepad. He's like, "Wonders," and then Lenny's like, "Yeah, the Oneaters." Jimmy's like, he tries to explain it, and Lenny sticks to his guns. He's like, "Yeah, but they're gonna say the Oneaters." So JD, we love the Oneaters name, do we not?
The Own Eaters is so perfect because it strikes a balance between the comedy and the drama of this movie just so well.
Mm-hmm.
The Own Eaters and Lenny, like you said, sticks to his guns. It's the Own Eaters. Can't go wrong.
Yep, absolutely. So we're on to the talent show. Faye comes to get Guy to head to the back, and that's when we meet Tina and a young Charlize Theron. And I want to talk about our two supporting female leads here. So obviously, Charlize has had a really big career and gone on to much bigger and better things. Not that Liv hasn't, but let's start with her. What do you think about her as Tina?
So Charlize Theron, she was in Devil's Advocate, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Mighty Joe Young, Cider House Rules, Reindeer Games. But yeah, she did. I think this technically was her second role because she had a movie called 2 Days in the Valley that came out before That Thing You Do. And then she's uncredited in Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest. But this is, yeah, very early on.
So you were uncredited in that movie as well. So
that's
no
correct.
big
Yeah,
deal.
I was in the background for sure. Just
It's a
don't
stalk
check.
of corn.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously we have Liv Tyler. I talked a little bit about her in the top 5 episode that we did, but JD, I feel like she was like born for this role. She just, especially when we get later on in the movie, and there's some issues that I won't spoil, but like when the scenes need to get emotional, she kind of brings it.
She does, and she does that in all of her roles. The top 3 that at the top of my mind, obviously being That Thing You Do, Armageddon, and Strangers.
Yes. I'm so
Um,
happy you said Armageddon.
and she's excellent in that is Ben Affleck's little beau or whatever you want to call her.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, she's underrated. She's an excellent actress. She brings a big pantheon of emotion from doe-eyed to sad sack to excited. Like it's just fun to watch her work. And for what it's worth, maybe one day Strangers will be an episode that we do, and that's honestly my favorite horror movie ever.
It's got to be. That's up there for me too. I love that movie. So definitely worth talking about. And one more I want to get your opinion on here, JD. He's not really a huge part of the cast here, but I got a feeling you've got a soft spot in your heart for the heckler and the great Sean Whalen. What do you think about him here? Because he does. We kind of open up at this talent show here, and he immediately starts heckling the host, and he tells him to eat his shorts, and then he's like, "Quiet," and then he's like, he just yells up there and tells him to shut up, and the guy's like, "You shut up." Now let me introduce the Oneaters. And then Jimmy grabs the mic. He's like, "It's the Wonders." So what do you think about Sean Whalen here heckling the host?
Sean Whalen from that Aaron Burr commercial to People Under the Stairs is an excellent character actor. Do we want to call him?
He's for sure a character actor.
He's fun. He's good. He's solid. Like what he brings to the scenes kind of steal the show in some regard. Like I'm just so happy to see him, and every time I see him in a movie, and I'm like, boom, Sean Whalen, there he is.
Mm-hmm. Is this his favorite little supporting role for you, or is there something else you prefer with him?
For lack of a better opportunity to look at his IMDb, because I won't cheat, I will say People Under the Stairs, I think is his.
Okay.
That's the definitive role of Sean Whalen. So
I need to give that movie another look, but yeah, this or Twister would be up there for me.
There we go. Yeah, we need to do People Under the Stairs. We need to grab George Warren, who is reported to be starting his own podcast.
Nice.
And his first movie that he wants to cover is People Under the Stairs, which is, if you've not seen it, you think Get Out talks and hits on racial aspects in America. back your ass up to the 1990s when Wes Craven lays down the law.
Yeah, I love it, and we would definitely have him on and help him promote it, and maybe even be his first guest for People Under Stairs. Maybe we just go do it on his show. We'll have to figure
Heck
that
yeah.
out. But shout out to Sean Whalen, though. I would love to get him on the show at some point and interview him because I think he's got a really interesting career. And so they take the stage, and Guy decides to speed up the tempo, and he starts with that little drum fill right at the beginning. And Jimmy turns around immediately. He's like, "You got to slow down. That's too fast." And Lenny's like, "Just go with it. They love it." So they start playing, and the crowd's quickly into the show and into the song. And by the end of it, they're all on the dance floor and they're cheering for the band. And Anna, they win the talent show in the $100. What do you think about the more up tempo version of that thing you do that Jimmy is not happy with?
I'm with everyone else. I think it's great and it sounds better faster. And screw you, Jimmy, for not liking it.
I love it. So at the end of the show, they give the bass player the trophy. He raises it above his head, and his bass comes loose and goes crashing to the ground. I love that just because that happened to me one time at a show.
I knew
And
it.
I wasn't raising a trophy, but I was just playing, and it just came loose. My strap was a little too loose, or I just maybe needed to adjust it, and it crashed and knocked me out of tune, and it was awful. I mean, it's really hard to tune right in the middle of a 4-minute song. Yeah,
So what
respect
you're
to him.
saying is you can't tune by ear.
Well, not with like two other guitars going. I can't tune in the middle of the song. So you got to
That's
like
why you
throw
didn't make
yourself
it,
on
Kyle.
mute, and yeah, it's totally why I didn't make it. 100%. Also talent. Now, Guy is super pumped, and he's going on and on after the show to Tina that, I was in a band once, and we played this show, we didn't get paid, and we got paid after our first show, where we've already got another gig set up, and they're going to be going to Villa Pianos. We're going to cut to there, and Jimmy's playing this really slow ballad at the beginning. And at the end of the song, this line literally killed me. Lenny gets to the microphone and goes, "Table 19, your pizza's ready." I freaking love it.
That's as Ben would say, a banger
It's
in
a
this
banger.
household. That's quotable left and right, wouldn't you say, Anna?
Yeah, and shout out to my lunch table at work because we call ourselves Table 19,
Oh, that's awesome.
which is actually based on The Wedding Singer, Table 9, 'cause,
Oh,
the loser table, but, you know.
very nice.
Combo
So
joke.
the heckler's back at it. He shouts out, "When are you guys going to play that thing you do? We came here to pick up girls and dance, and we can't do it." And Lenny turns. He's like, "This seems like the right opportunity to pick it up. Let's go." So they start playing that thing you do. Everybody races to the dance floor, and we get a cutaway shot to Patterson's appliances. And Mr. Patterson, who's in his robe, is like, "Let it burn. Let it burn all night. Why would he turn off a light here? He doesn't turn them off at the house." So we cut back to the concert, which is now over, and the owner of Villa Pianos has his money laid out on the table, and Lenny's looking at it. He's looking at a pretty nice bonus, and the owner says, "Do you know why you're getting a bonus?" And Lenny's just like, "I have no idea." He's like, "Because everyone wants to hear you, Oneaters." And Lenny's like, "Hey, that's the Onetters." And they get a couple bonus pizzas on the house. And Sean Whalen's character here, the heckler, gets escorted out of the bar, but not before asking about a record and where can I buy it. And Guy's like, yeah, what do you guys think about that? And then he explains that his Uncle Bob records church music. He won't do it for free, and they're going to have to watch their language, but I think we should do it. So, JD, what do you think of this whole scene?
I'm super excited to talk some Uncle Bob, but
Yeah,
the fact that I wish work paid me in pizza.
no kidding.
I'm like, you do get paid in pizza from BAM. Check it out.
That's true. That's true. Free pizza on the house when I'm in town. Now at the church, they are recording the record and they finish up the song. And Lenny's like, "We just get the one take." And they're like, "Yeah, pretty much." They start packing everything up. Once they're done, Guy wants to know when the record's going to be ready. And Uncle Bob gives him a Bible quote from the book of Luke. And Lenny, being super confused by the whole thing, is like, "I don't get it. So when are we getting this?" Uncle Bob says, "Wednesday." That's pretty much it. Uncle Bob helps out with the clapping. Fade is kind of tag teaming that with him, and it's a pretty short little scene here for Uncle Bob. And then we're back at Villa Pianos for another performance.
But
And
real quick.
oh, go
real
ahead.
quick, Anna, enlighten our audience who is playing Uncle Bob and sing a verse from his most famous My Most Perfect song.
I will not sing, but it's Chris Isaac, and I'm assuming you're referencing Wicked Games as your most perfect song.
Love that. Chris Isaac, 90s pop heartthrob, Wicked Game, which I think to be the most beautiful song ever written. And here he is as Uncle Bob.
Here he is. Did he go on to do any other acting roles, or was this kind of it?
Uncle Bob or Chris Isaac? I bet Uncle Bob had a lot of success after that record recording with that clapping he did. It was
Had
on
to have.
rhythm and everything.
Right. Yeah, you can't teach that rhythm, and naturally it looked like Liv Tyler had it as well. So go figure, huh? Now let's jump into the next scene here. So actually, I want to talk about this real quick too. So at the Villa Pianos, there's another female fan. Her name's Chrissy, and Lenny comes over, and he's like, "Hey, Skitch, your girlfriend just got here," and he lets Guy know that he'll take care of this one. And he's like, "Oh yeah, his girlfriend's real pretty, huh?" She's like, "Are they serious?" He's like, "Yeah, very serious, but I'm single." She's like, "What about the bass player? Married." So that part killed me. And then Tina and Guy are talking, and she wants to know if it's always this smoky. Clearly, it's not her scene. And then the owner says, "Hey, Ringo, get up there. You should have been up there 30 minutes ago." And then we cut to Faye counting some money over by the records. And that's when Dude comes in, and it's like, "You guys selling a bunch of these?" We'll get back to that. Probably could have heard a little bit more of this song, but what do you think about that one from the bar?
Which song was playing there?
It's the one where Lenny's kind of the lead singer on it. We're gonna meet Phil Horace, who's the guy that was asking if they were selling a bunch of these records, and he arrives in a Winnebago the next day. And Guy wants to know if he wants to buy a record, and Horace says, "Nope, I don't want to waste your time. I'm actually interested in signing you guys, so step into my office." And we cut to the inside of his home on wheels, and the rest of the guys have joined Guy now, and he's fixing up a stew and using that as a nice little analogy. And he explains that his job is to get the record of theirs on the radio and also to get them some bigger rock and roll gigs. And the contract that he's offering, very standard. And he's like, "I tell you what, if I don't get you on the radio with some serious radio play within a week, well, we can go ahead and just rip up this contract and I'm no longer your manager." And Jimmy's like, "I don't know. I'm reluctant to sign anything that has to do with my music." And then he's like, "You're crazy, man. This guy with a really nice camper wants to put our song on the radio. Give me a pen. I'm signing." And that's it, JD. They're a signed band just like that. What do you think about that?
Just like that. I like the little instances of Jimmy with his pretentiousness, which I'm sure you will apply to me later
Yeah.
on.
Oh,
Match.
100%.
Well, whatever, screw you. But I get it, like Jimmy's apprehension and then Lenny's excitement. I like the balance between the characters essentially just diving into who they are, the actors diving into their characters and bringing that onto how it comes out onto screen. It's just cool. It's like it's a little character piece. Like it's almost like a novella inside. Like you can do a short film based only on this scene. And I like it.
Well, I really like this next scene here. We get a quick little Tina at the dentist scene where she's kind of smitten by this male dentist that comes to the lobby. But then we're going to get to one of my favorite scenes of the movie, and the Wonders are on the radio for the first time. Let's listen to this clip.
Erie fans got a new record out. Just won the Mercyhurst Talent Show a couple of weeks ago. This is Erie's own Shoes for the family, from tots to teens to mom and dad. Quality, selection, and
Comes in beige, classic white, avocado. This is
Son, you want to get your cotton picking mitts off of that?
Anna, what do you think about this scene?
It's so exciting. I love that the way they show person by person as they all meet up.
Yeah,
And I love when they just are blasting it in the appliance store, and the dad from Donnie Darko is just like not having it.
right.
Um, and it's just exciting for all of them. And I just love the part where Lenny kisses the cardboard cutout.
Yep, that's a fantastic shot as well. And the dad is so not happy that they're in his store doing that, and that kind of adds to it for me. Because it's like you would think he would be really excited for his son, but he's clearly like, what are you doing to me? Guy, you're ruining my business. So yeah, it's just great. So we cut to the celebration, or I should say after the celebration. It's kind of late at night, and Guy is still at the store, and the light, of course, is still on. And he's talking with Tina, who, again, doesn't seem all that impressed with the success of the band. And she says that she can't come to the next show because she has to get work done on her number 19 molar, and it's going to take all day. And Guy's like, all day at the dentist? And he's like, all right, well, whatever. And she's like, all right, well, you have fun and don't get in any trouble. And Guy's like, I never get into trouble because I am Spartacus. And she hangs up on him. It's
Yes,
awesome.
she does.
So they arrive at the Orpheum Theater in Pittsburgh, and another great little cameo role here, Kevin Pollak as the boss Vic Koss. I guess I'll let you comment on this at the end of it, but the guys come out and they really lay an egg here. They've got issues with the mics, and Guy's tempo's completely off on the drum kit, and then afterwards, Guy and Phil are talking. He's like, hey, you're the drummer, man. You're the backbone, the timekeeper. Who knows? Maybe this Chinese food will make you feel better. So he takes him into this little luncheon spot, and that's where we meet Mr. White, played by Tom Hanks. Of course, we have to talk about this scene, and we've got to talk about Tom Hanks. So, JD, what do you think about the blunder at the Orpheum?
I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of them struggling.
Sure.
In terms of storytelling, I think that could have been more powerful because we've got the talent show that they rock the house, and then every subsequent time that they're behind the mic, they're amazing.
Right.
And I imagine they have to have some nerves and anxiety going behind them. So maybe there's a deleted scene that sort of touches on that a little bit. But like just to see them just like fumble here just seemed a little odd. And I get what Tom Hanks was doing, and I agree with what he was doing. I just think he needed maybe 60 seconds more of payoff to get to where he was going.
Yep. And I think that's a great point. And, I do want to kind of dive into the Tom Hanks role here a little bit more. Gosh, I mean, I love him as Mr. White. Obviously, he's the executive Playtone Records. He caught the show, but he's still interested. Were you surprised at all that he was still interested after watching that bomb of a performance?
I a little surprised. Again, I wish they had showed him in the audience, maybe
Yeah.
like grimacing,
Would've been
something
cool.
to like establish the fact that he knows that they sucked, but he also knows that they rock. I don't
Right.
know. Anna, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do know that watching them struggle like that for those few seconds makes the viewer very uncomfortable. So I can only imagine that's how the audience felt. So if they had shown him and shown more of that bad performance, it would have just added to the emotion.
And he does comment that, he's heard the record, he likes it, it's snappy. And I like to release that and add the wonders to the Playtone staple of artists. And guys like, just like that. And Mr. White says, well, obviously some paperwork's got to be drawn and we'll need to get the master copies of the music. You'll have to say goodbye to Phil here. And Guy does not like the idea of Phil leaving the band, but clearly Phil is a local guy and this is his job to get artists signed and move on to the next person. So he assures them that it's the right move and his job is done. At this point, he wants him moving on to Mr. White. So in the dressing room, the guys have now been introduced to Mr. White, and he says the first order of business is to correct the spelling on the name. And Lenny's like, as in, I wonder what happened to the Oneaters. I love it. And then Jimmy wants to get back in the studio and get another take at performing one of the songs, but Mr. White's like, nah, I think they sound fine. And that's not really my concern right now. He wants them in matching suits. You guys are nice boys, except for you. Points to Guy, and he's like, got something different for you. And then Jimmy again asks about cutting their next record, and Mr. White tells him right now touring is going to be the main goal. We're going to meet up with the rest of the Playtone gang. And then that's when the bass player drops the news that in August he's going to be enlisting in the army. And the guys are shocked, and Mr. White's obviously not real happy about this. But in the next shot here, he asks about Faye, and Jimmy's like, yeah, she's kind of my girlfriend. Okay, that's fine. You want her on tour. She's your costume mistress. Now, let me go have a talk with old boss Vic Koss and make sure the mics work. And before he leaves, he tosses Guy a pair of shades and he's like, let's see how the world looks behind these. So, JD, a lot to unpack here. We're going to lose the bass player. The guys are hitting the road and they're on the bigger and better things.
Yeah, they totally are. And there's a reason why I love this movie. The three of us love this movie, like indefinitely, because of that coming of age story and that growing and getting what you dream for, but having to work for it at the same time. For what it's worth, the bass player, there's a scene when they first hear the song where he's in the Army Navy surplus store. So they kind of hint at his military potential earlier on. I think they could have done more with it, and they do a good job on the back nine of ironing that out. But it's snappy. Like everything that we've just watched is snappy.
Yep, I like it. So on the road, Guy calls his dad to let him know the news that he's going on tour. His dad is not happy about this. Before Guy gets off the phone, he's like, let mom know I love you, love her. And he didn't say him. And he hangs up. He's like, your son, who loves you, just left us high and dry. And Darlene, you're promoted. She's like, does that mean you're going to start paying me? He's like, I did not say that.
That part.
The guys have joined the tour. All the Playtone artists are walking around, and Mr. White drops off a big box of freshly pressed records. And Lenny's pumped to be on a real Playtone record. And then we find out the bass player is missing. So Guy thinks he might be sniffing around the Chantraline's bus trying to get a glimpse, he says. And then Lenny and Guy fanboy out over a couple different artists. And I love the fact that they're like all kind of annoyed by them. They're like, oh yeah, thank you. All right, leave me alone now. We get to the concert. The guys are next up. Mr. White says, that man over there sniffing the stogie, that's a very popular disc jockey. And if he likes what he hears, he's going to play your song tomorrow to 50,000 people. And it's very important that you do not stink today. And Lenny's like, I make no guarantees. Faye brings the sunglasses for Mr. White, and he gives Guy a little bit of a lecture. He's like, this is your trademark. You got to have these every time. Make sure you always have these on you. The Wonders are introduced. They hit the stage, and Lenny says, here we go, Skitch. And they start to perform, and the crowd immediately starts to move and get into the song. And we see Mr. White dropping off the record to the VJ in the background of the kind of on the side of the stage. And then we go into a montage of the record being played the next day by that guy. And then Mr. White revealing the Billboard Top 100. They made the list, and they just start to climb. They go from 71 to 49, and then from 25 all the way down to 21. And then meanwhile, it looks like the bass player has gotten a girlfriend. And then former drummer Chad has taken a job with the Pattersons. So, Anna, things are looking up. I don't know if they're looking up for Chad, but the Wonders are rising quickly in fame here.
Yeah, and the time it's taken Chad's arm to heal, the Wonders have just gotten so famous, and he's just watching from the sidelines. Good, he got a job, so hopefully he's getting paid for that.
The poor guy. The fact that, and obviously they wouldn't have made it without Guy, because apparently dude's drumming was not very good, according to the bass player. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I wonder if the backstory to that is, hey, it worked out for him to work here, so maybe if I work here, then somebody will come find me, and I'll catch on with another band. I don't know. That's
We need a sequel movie.
Tom Hanks, yeah. A sequel would be so cool, to be honest. Like 30 years later, they'd be in the 90s. Maybe they have a resurgence.
That thing you still do.
Yep. So we cut to another concert where Lenny seems to be doing a lot of the singing on a song called Pretty Baby. That one I did have. And I actually really enjoyed that song as well. Kind of surprised that one didn't take off like that thing you did do. The song finishes to a standing ovation, and Lenny thanks Illinois and calls it Land of Lincoln. And then after the show, Jimmy and Faye talk at the bar, and Guy finds a guy that performed with Del Paxton, so he's just oozing over this guy. And then Jimmy approaches Diane Dane, and then we see Lenny playing cards with some older guys here, and that's after White talks to Faye at the bar, and she reveals some details that they've been together for 2.5 years. And he also wants to know about Guy's backstory. And she's like, yeah, he had this girlfriend, but he lost her to a dentist. And then we arrive at the rehearsal the next day, and Diane is performing, and Jimmy's just sitting on the piano, and he's watching. And she comes over and sits on his lap. And clearly, Jimmy is smitten with Diane Dane. And when she finishes, the Wonders are up next, and they're introduced actually at the concert now by Freddie Fredrickson, and he says they are the ones you've all been waiting for, racing up the charts with that thing you do. Here they are, and they finish and run on the stage. They finish the song, and then they run off, and we enter the dressing room, and Mr. White says, we need to leave as soon as possible. That Thing You Do is now the fastest rising single in the history of the label. They have the number 7 record in the country. So they celebrate, and they're headed to the West Coast. And man, we almost lose Faye here by security, but Guy rescues her. JD, what do you think about this?
It's a fun scene. I feel like there's a lot of throwback to the Beatles, maybe even the Monkees that we're talking about here in terms of their rise to stardom and how they acted on stage, and they're just sprinting off. It's so like adolescent, but so like mature at the same time, like run in, run out. It's just fun. In terms of storytelling, it creates like a sense of like positive anxiety in the scene where you're just like, you can feel for them, and you're just like, no, get the hell out of there, go.
Yep, the brilliance of Mr. White. On the plane heading to the West Coast, Faye is getting sick, and instead of Jimmy taking care of it, it's actually Guy. He puts a blanket on her, has her lay down on a pillow, and then we cut to Jimmy, who's again asking about studio time for another record. Mr. White's just not having it. He'll kind of explain why, and just says it's coming, but you got to be patient. We got to do this, that. And Lenny is pretty pumped to hear that they're going to be on TV soon. One of my favorite scenes of the entire movie. So we're going to cut to that. They are on set as Captain Geach in the Shrimp Shack Shooters. Jimmy's actually kind of upset here. He doesn't understand why they have a top 10 record and they're on this stupid show. But the rest of the band disagree, and they're like, would you rather be at the state like State Fair? Like, what are we doing? Like, come on, we're on a TV show. Relax, have fun. We're getting to some really great radio appearances next. I know, JD, you're going to have a lot to say on this, but we've got a cameo from director Paul Feig as one of the DJs. And then the next stop is Clint Howard, and he wants to know their influences. And the bass player says, oh, definitely the Chantrellines. And then Jimmy's like, yeah, Deanna and the Belmonts. And then Lenny's like, Captain Geach and the Shrimp Track Shooters. Mr. White's not happy at all.
I love
Guy,
Mr. White's face there.
yeah. And then Guy says Stan Getz, anything Del Paxton. He's just going off, and Mr. White not real happy with the responses because he wanted to plug the Playtone acts. But Anna, this is kind of our first little hint at some kinks in the armor here with the guys, because with the stuff going on with Jimmy and then Faye, and then he's not happy about the TV show. What do you make of that?
Yeah, you kind of start to see things unravel. Like with Jimmy just constantly being annoyed that they're not making another record, and his whole tantrum at the Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters thing. It's sad to see everything starting to fall apart because Guy seems to be the only one. Guy and Faye are the only ones that seem to be putting their all into this anymore. Lenny
Right.
cares, but he's, all about the ladies. So
Lenny's gonna Lenny. But yeah, we have to talk about him, JD. I mean, obviously a huge cameo by Clint Howard. I mean, what do you think about him here?
Yeah, I mean, Clint Howard has made a career out of moments like this, from everything from Apollo 13 to Lords of Salem. I mean, he's everywhere, and he was even in that one Star Wars. Anna, what was that Star Wars movie he was in?
Clint Howard?
Yeah, it's the
he
one that
played
Ron directs. I don't know which one it is off the top
Was
of my
that
head.
Rogue
But
One? Or no, it was the Solo movie.
Oh, yeah, where he's like a prisoner or something.
Yeah, and so I mean, he has such a memorable way of acting. Even in Seinfeld, Anna, come on, why didn't you name drop Seinfeld with me here?
Seinfeld. He was in Seinfeld.
There
you go.
Love Clint Howard. He's so great. Good guy too.
good guy. You do love some Clint Howard. Now let's
So
talk a
would you.
little bit. I'm just double checking the Ron Howard directing thing to make sure we've got the right Star Wars movie. I don't want people to lose their mind on this one. It was definitely Solo, a Star Wars story. So quick fact check, but let's continue on. So Jimmy tries to talk in the next scene with Saul Seiler, and he gets completely blown off, and then he starts yelling at Jimmy with mustard all over his face. He's like, I'm trying to get ready for a Vic. And
That is
Mr.
actually
White just runs
really
at him.
good, by the way, Kyle.
It sounded just
really-
like that noise he makes.
That was awesome. Do it again.
Really? Twice? But here, set it up. Try. You be Jimmy. I'll act like I'm eating a hot dog with mustard.
Okay, so I'm Jimmy, or Anna's Jimmy.
No, you're Jimmy.
Okay,
Anna
you're
could be
Jimmy.
Mr. White.
Okay, Anna, are you ready?
Yes, I'll stand here silently because that's what
Okay.
happens during that scene.
Hi,
Perfect.
Mr. Saul. I've got a question for you about my record.
What is this kid? Dude, I'm trying to.
And Mr. White is now pissed off and worried that
Right.
Jimmy's screwing something off. Oh,
And then Mr. White says to Guy, what the hell is Jimmy doing? So yeah, he runs over there, and then Jimmy mentions that he's still kind of complaining that he can't even have a conversation with this guy, and he's the head of a label, and Diane told him that you should never trust a label, and he's starting to believe her. And Faye doesn't look happy to hear this news that he's been having one-on-one conversations with Diane. So Lenny calls him out on the whining, and then Jimmy says, oh, I'm sorry I'm bothering you. I guess I'm alone in my principles. And he gets up and leaves the restaurant, and Lenny goes, there he goes. Off to write that next hit song, Alone in My Principles. Lamar comes over to the table and lets Lenny know that a major blonde and a major car just showed up, and he thinks that she wants to show him the town. And Lenny's like, oh, perfect. How's my breath? Good, not great? Okay, perfect. I'll see you guys. And he takes off. And then Faye tells the bass player and Guy that you just have to understand, Jimmy's standards are way up there. You have to remember he tested at genius levels in high school, and that's why. And Guy just nods and doesn't say anything. And she's like, all right, I feel terrible. I'm going to go back to bed. So she leaves. And then after she leaves the table, Guy says, if Jimmy's a genius, I'm outant. I don't know what that means. Reference goes over my head, but Guy wants to get out of there, wants to know if they want to see the coast. And the bass player's like, yeah, I'll go. Let's check it out. But before he does, he approaches some military guys at the bar and he informs them that he will be joining the ranks soon. And he's like, I can already do 200 push-ups. They're like, all right, really? Do 100 right now. And he drops down, starts counting them off. So Guy leaves him without, takes off without him. He's like, all right, I'm out of here. So he heads to get a taxi and he pulls Lamar aside, wants to know if there's a place that has really good jazz. And Lamar says, you want really good jazz? So he quizzes him. Guy passes. He's like, get in the cab. Take him to the blue spot. So, JD, the band is falling apart. The guys are all heading in separate directions, literally. What do you think of this scene?
I think it's cool. Like, I think Tom Hanks, Miss White, I said it was
Oi.
my last time. Sorry.
Read me, bitch.
No, I think it's from like a directorial standpoint, it's really cool the way that he silos the characters, siphons them, and separates them, and sends them on their own path.
Mm-hmm.
And after this scene, everything is different.
Right.
Essentially, like nothing is the same after they all encounter this night, which again I think could be its own short film. One night with that thing you do.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So we're at the blue spot, and Guy is taking in the music, and a waitress here, played by Rita Wilson, wife of Tom Hanks, also credit for helping Tom Everett Scott get hired and forcing Tom to take another look at him. She's kind of interacting with Guy here. She's telling him a little bit about her story, and he asks if the band is going to go back on, and she's like, they're kind of on their little element over there. And then she mentions Del Paxton is in the group, and he's like, hold on, repeat that. Del Paxton? Del Paxton sitting over there. She's like, yeah, I just lost you, didn't I? And she wants to know if he wants to meet him, and Guy's like, oh, no, yes, absolutely. So she goes over, makes the introduction, and she introduces Guy to Del, and he tells him to sit down and buy him a drink. So Guy awkwardly starts spitting out that he's from Erie, PA. He's in a band called The Wonders. They just cut a record, and they're out here on the West Coast, and I have all your records, and well, not all of them, but I have a lot of them. And then some time passes in the night, and we cut to, it's just now Del and Guy, and Del tells him, bands come and go. What you have to do is keep playing no matter with who. And he's like, you guys any good? And Guy's like, yeah, we're real good. We got something snappy. And Del's like, I bet you do. But sooner or later, something will make you crazy. It's last call. Del tells him to keep playing and to watch his money, and you'll end up on your feet. And the waitress says, look at you. You're no good to me now. So, Anna, a lot goes into the scene. I mean, I love this kind of immediate camaraderie between Guy and Del. What do you think of this scene of him meeting his idol?
How exciting to get to meet your idol and then have the hangout go so well.
Yes.
You know, like when Justin got to meet Jeff Goldblum and got rubbed, or his back got rubbed by him. It doesn't get better than that.
Well, you got to meet him as well.
I got to meet him, yes, but he didn't.
6 to 12, didn't you?
Well,
ask me about if I ever met a famous lead singer that was an idol.
Oh, have you?
Oh yeah. Oh, I ran into Ace Enders, lead singer of the Early November, at a mall. And I absolutely pulled him to the side, and I was like, "Oh, you're the lead singer of the Early November." He's like, "Yeah, man." And it was the whole band there, and I was there on spring break in college, and they're like, "So are you coming to the show tonight?" And I like pulled out my wallet. I'm like, "I just got my ticket." They're like, "Cool, man, that's awesome." And I was like, "Yeah, I just ruined my cell phone because I got into a hot tub drunk and got it water damage." And they're like, "Oh, cool." And then that kind of ended the conversation. But later at the show, I was there. and the drummer had a malfunction on his equipment, so they were trying to fix it, and he was trying to kill time, and he's like, "Where's my boy Kyle? I met him at the mall today." And I was right there in the middle. And he was like, "There he is. Cool dude, man." So
Oh,
there
that's
you go.
awesome. You're such a Guy Patterson.
I'm totally a Guy Patterson. I would have bought him a drink. He should have asked me for a drink.
Yeah.
Hennessy.
Taking him home too. What?
What?
Say something?
Oops.
Nope.
Huh?
Let's keep moving. So, guy gets a call in the morning and he's asleep. He's kind of overslept actually, and they can't find the bass player. And he must have forgotten that they're gonna be on live TV tonight. Freaking, I can't do the Tom Hanks voice. It's too late. But he's
wasn't
got to get
bad.
a Tootie down to the studio right now. So Guy rushes down to the studio, and we find a very sick Jimmy throwing up in the bathroom, and he thinks that Faye gave him something. And then Guy tries to call the bass player, who we see is at Disney World with all his new Marine buddies. And that's when we're going to get introduced to the Wolfman, the new bass player. And then Faye gets pampered for the big night. Mr. White tells Guy that she's been taken care of. And we arrive at the Hollywood Television Showcase. And the Patterson family plus Chad are watching from their home in Erie. First time I've actually seen Mr. Patterson excited about Guy, which is kind of funny. And then we have this great cameo from Bryan Cranston as Gus Grissom. And JD, I totally forgot going into this movie that Cranston's a part of this, and I feel like he's such a big time actor now because of the success of Breaking Bad. But what do you think about seeing him here as Guy Grissom?
Yeah, I totally forgot about it, and then in rewatching it, I was like, oh, how did I forget about this? His delivery of his lines, the way they show and they zoom up to him just reading the teleprompter. It's hilarious. Because it's a glimpse into what Hollywood is from the outside. People think it's all, yeah, we're well polished, but at the same time, it's like, no, he's literally just reading line from a
Right.
teleprompter.
Yep, absolutely. So the Wonders take the stage, and during commercial break, Lenny looks at Guy and he's like, "How did we get here, Skitch?" Guy's like, "I led you here, for I am Spartacus." And Guy starts the beat, and they break into the song. And then during the live show, the camera starts to do like push-ins and close-ups on the guys. And I love that Guy's parents just go crazy. Even Chad's like jumping up and down. It cracks me up that he's so in on Guy taking his job. And then they do a close-up towards the end of the song with Jimmy, and it says, "Careful, girls, he's engaged." Jimmy appears to see it, which was interesting to me, and he's not happy at all. So let's get to after the show, and we're going to get our next clip of Faye confronting Jimmy.
Good Lord, Faye, you look gorgeous.
Now, next up for you kids, you get to make another record.
Can I say something?
Hey, the fair Faye wishes to address us all, so is...
Jimmy. From now on, you stay away from me. I have wasted thousands and thousands of kisses on you. Kisses that I thought were special because of your lips and your smile and all your color and life. I used to think that was the real you when you smiled. But now I know that you don't mean any of it. You just save it for all your songs. Shame on me for kissing you with my eyes closed so tight.
Should have dumped you in Pittsburgh.
Which one of you butts said we're engaged?
Same person who said you had class, Jimmy.
Spoil, babe. Need that desert hair in my hair.
Okay. Do we really have to go with the top down?
those stupid sunglasses off.
Why couldn't you dump her in Pittsburgh?
Anna, Faye drops the hammer on Jimmy here. What'd you think of this scene?
Well, he deserves it. He's been terrible to everyone, but especially to her.
Yep.
I mean, the first thing he says to her is, "Careful, girls, we're engaged. Where did they get that idea?" And then, Guy comes in and he's like, "Faye, you look gorgeous." It's like, why is her boyfriend not the one giving her this attention? So good on
True.
her.
Totally true. Yeah, and she's got such a great monologue here of just ripping into him, and she's talking about every kiss that they had, and she just regrets it, and shame on her for allowing it. And it's just, yeah, it's an awesome scene. And Jimmy's turned into this huge diva, and he storms out here in this next scene when they're at the studio. He's calling Mr. White a liar, and Mr. White tells him that he didn't read his contract very well. And Jimmy's like, "All right, well, I guess you know what? All right, I'll sing. I quit, Mr. White." And that's it. He walks out, grabs his guitar, and Mr. White turns to Guy, and he's like, "Jimmy, just quit. Your band's falling apart, Guy." And where the hell's Lenny? When we cut to Lenny, he's just gotten married. So the band appears to be over, and it's a scene that we call a very common tale. A little speech here from Mr. White. What do you think about this, JD?
Yeah, I think that I want to hear your input as a musician. Obviously, my clarinet doesn't count to musical talent. But I mean, when we've worked together, Kyle, you and I, over the years on various projects and trying to build things, and have had successes and failures. But at the same time, there comes a moment when you just have to hang up your skates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, especially for the band. I mean, they got so big so quick, and before they could even get really even back into the studio to try for a follow-up, they've already fallen apart. I mean, it's exactly what Del Paxton warned him about. This is what's going to happen. You got to be prepared for it. And there's a really great line by Mr. White in there where he calls them the one-hit wonders. It's like, very common tale. So,
yeah, he actually said it wrong. It's actually the one-hit O-meters.
Hey, that's the O-netters. So we cut to Faye, who's packing up her hotel room. She opens a box of pictures with all the guys, and she grabs the one with her, Guy, and Jimmy, and she cuts Jimmy out of the picture and just sends him flying to the ground here. And we see that she's pretty much just she's moving on. She's done with Jimmy completely. So we cut back to Guy, and he's been told by Mr. White that he can stay because, I mean, it's his only time in a real recording studio. And he's like, "You could stay a couple hours here, but you do have to get out of the hotel room." So he gets up from his piano and he moves over to the drum kit, and he grabs his sticks and he starts playing. And in the back of the studio, like in the control room there, we see a familiar figure. I think we know who it is, but we can't quite see him yet. Just kind of watching Guy behind the glass. And the guy that's kind of running the soundboard audio's into Guy, and he's like, "Hey, what do you call that?" And Guy's like, "I am Spartacus." He's like, "Nice, man. You want to lay that down?" He's like, "No." And that's when the studio door opens and Del Paxton walks in, and he wants to know if he wants to jam a bit. And Guy's like, "Yeah, are you kidding? Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do it." And Guy asks him what he's doing here, and Del says he's recording some tracks in Studio C with Willie Walker. And Guy's like, "Willie Walker, come on." And Del jumps on the piano and he's like, "Let's play that Spartacus song again." And that's it. He tells them to roll tape in the studio, and they do, and they start the jam, and clearly Guy's dream has come true. I mean, pretty awesome. So, and I mean the band's broken up, but I mean Guy got to play with his idol. I mean, I don't know what to quite make of this ending. It's a little less dramatic than I remembered, but what do you think?
Well, I say it's a win for Guy. I mean, he gets to hang out with his favorite musician, and Dell is like the only guy that gives him the time of day when he calls himself Spartacus. Because if you notice throughout the whole movie, everyone kind of either just looks at him or hangs up on him.
Right.
And then it's like, oh my gosh, Dell like respects me as a person and we're jamming together. So it's good for him and
Definitely.
sad for the band, but good for him.
Guy arrives back from the studio with a box. He tells Lamar that he's got to check out, and Lamar's like, by the way, your bandmate of yours want the attitude. He left hours ago. But then he lets him know that Faye is still sitting by herself at the coffee shop, and Lamar gives him a little shove in the right direction. And we cut to Guy and Faye talking in the coffee shop, and he says that Dell thinks he can make it here as a drummer. Faye's like, so you're going to be a permanent West Coaster, huh? And Guy's like, it looks that way. And he asked what she's going to do. And she said, well, I think I'm going to head back to Erie. And Guy's like, yeah, I kind of figured you'd say that. And Faye asks him a question. Says, were you in love with Erie? And he says, I thought so. But I guess at the end, probably not. Faye says that, Tina wasn't right for him. And she wants to know if she was a good kisser. And he's like, yeah, but, I don't want to elaborate on that. I'm kind of be a gentleman over here. And Faye's like, oh, yeah, I forgot what a gentleman looks like. So she tells him to give her a call if he ever makes it to Erie. And he says, yeah, we can listen to records. And she gives him a kiss on the cheek and says goodbye. And Faye tells him that none of this would have happened if it wouldn't have been for him joining the band. And she means that in a good way. And she leaves to catch her cab. And just as Guy watches her leave, he gets up and we get our last clip of the movie here.
Before you go, let me ask you one question.
Shoot.
When was the last time you were decently kissed? I mean, truly, truly good and kissed.
Dave Gamelgard, New Year's Eve, 61.
Okay.
We should have done that a long time ago.
Yeah. Lamar, would you mind watching our things?
Oh, that's what I do.
JD, Guy gets the girl in the end. What do you think of this?
He does. I love the way that this movie plays the long game. The way that they set up Guy and Faye from the first moment that they interact and she puts her hand on his shoulder in the diner. And they build it and they build it and they build it, but they don't make it like, they don't express upon it like this is where the movie's going. But as you're watching it and rewatching it now in 2021, it's just like, these are our main characters, and it's not a music movie, it's not a comedy, it's not a drama, it's a romance between these two individuals, and they lock lips and the crowd goes wild.
Right. Yep, absolutely. And then the credits roll, and then we get like a little update on what happened to them after the band broke up. And obviously, Guy and Faye end up together. I did laugh that Jimmy like ends up making records with a new band under the Playtone record label because obviously he's still under contract. So I got a little kick out of that. Lenny's divorced, and gosh, do we even know what happens to the bass player? I don't remember what it's. I think it said he retired from the army or something like that. I kind of forget his, but a little bit of an afterthought because he kind of falls out of nowhere at the end. I was a little unsatisfied with the way that the bass player's role just kind of ends. But Anna, the movie's 25 years old. How do you think That Thing You Do has stood the test of time here?
I still enjoy watching it just as much as I did apparently 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's kind of still relevant. I mean, everyone loves the 60s and the Beatles-esque feeling that it has. The actors that are in it are still well loved, if not more.
I agree. Yeah, I love all the actors and the actresses in this movie. I think it's fantastic from top to bottom, and I definitely think this movie has stood the test of time. JD, what about you?
Totally, I agree with both of you. I think that it's audience, if you've never seen it before, it's worth a watch. If you haven't seen it in 10 years, it's worth a rewatch. This holds up like through and through. So shout out to every aspect that went into making this movie because I loved it. And even so, when we popped it up on Prime to watch it, our options were watch it again. Meaning we had watched it very recently, and I was like, heck yeah, let's watch this again. I mean, would you agree, Anna?
Yeah. And the only reason we're watching it on Prime is because it's a better quality version than the old DVD we have, which has been watched many times as well.
Yeah, we need to get that Blu-ray with the extended cut. And Kyle, let's the three of us or bring the kiddos and the wifo, and let's just all binge all things that are the extra 40 minutes.
Oh, we have to. Now, I did want to drop a couple things that I found just kind of doing some research on the movie. On the 20th anniversary of That Thing You Do, Ethan Embry finally revealed the character's name is actually Tobias for the bass player. So there you go. I love a little Tobias. Maybe you could have wore some blue paint, would have been nice.
Go blue yourself.
And then that was kind of it. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, there are a lot of really good facts about this movie, but I mean, probably my favorite part is the fact that Tom Hanks wrote this while doing promotional tour for Forrest Gump. That which also is a period piece. So I like the fact that he was like, I just made this movie about like a ton of different decades with Forrest Gump, and then he makes one about a 1960s one-hit wonder band. So great. And I still don't know who Otant is, but do you guys have any insight into Otant?
Give it some time.
I think he's just like a politician or something, maybe.
Politician? Okay, there we go.
But that's the best guess I have.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, that's it. Appreciate you coming on the show again, Anna. I'm glad we finally got to get into That Thing You Do. And again, you guys can follow Anna at the Palindrome Jedi on Twitter. She'll be tweeting and joining us for more episodes in the future. But Anna, any final words before we sign off here?
Just a shout out to Fountains of Wayne for writing That Thing You Do and winning the song in the contest.
Absolutely. And we talked a lot about that too in our favorite songs of 1996 and gave him a shout out there. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I totally forgot to bring up the song in more detail. But we did cover it in another episode, so you guys can check that out. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all the normal places. Drop us a 5-star review. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, definitely let us know. Shoot us a message, and we can find us over at Back in Time Pod on the social medias. But for now, we'll wrap it up. Another episode in the can, JD. Send us off with a little sum-sum. What do you got?
I'm going to do my best impression of Chris Isaac. This wicked guy.